funny, I warned you.
Malcolm Reed, a black man, never cared about attention, titles, or neighbors. He lived on the same stretch of mountain land his family had guarded since the early 1900s, 2,000 acres, a stone dam, and a lake his great-grandfather carved with his own hands. It was quiet, private, and fully his. That piece ended the day Evelyn Hartwell arrived. Evelyn wasn't just rich. She was the type who believed money was authority. She bought the entire ridge next to Malcolm's land in a single afternoon, paid cash, didn't blink, and immediately started transforming it into her own kingdom. Within weeks, she purchased 100 prefabricated luxury cabins, dropped them into neat little rows, and announced the grand opening of her new development, Hartwell Hills Estates. The moment the cabins touched ground, she declared herself HOA president. From the start, Malcolm felt her eyes on his lake. She'd drive her pearl-white SUV to the property line, stare across the water, and smirk as if deciding what part she planned to take next. It didn't take long before she marched to Malcolm's front gate wearing sunglasses, expensive jewelry, and a smile that didn't match her eyes. She offered him money, real money, a multi-million-dollar offer to buy his land and the dam. "Think of what you could do with it," she said. "I could turn this whole valley into something spectacular." Malcolm didn't even need a second to answer. "Not for sale," he said. "My family built this. I'm keeping it." Evelyn froze, then laughed, then glared. She couldn't process being told no, especially not by him. The moment she walked away, Malcolm knew that look. She wasn't done. Days later, he understood just how far she'd go. Evelyn used her wealth to hire a crooked surveyor named Leon Draper and forged a new boundary map, one that conveniently shifted several acres of Malcolm's shoreline onto her side. The map looked official: stamps, seals, signatures. Everything a cop or county clerk would accept at first glance. Then she made her move. Malcolm woke one morning to chainsaws roaring on his land. He stormed down the hill and found Evelyn standing in a hard hat and designer boots, waving her arms while workers cut trees, ripped out brush, and cleared ground like they owned the place. "This is my land," Malcolm snapped. Evelyn didn't even turn fully toward him. "Not anymore," she said coldly. "According to my map, this section belongs to me. You can't stop me." Have you ever met someone who thought money gave them the right to take anything they wanted? What would you do if a rich HOA president tried to steal the land your family protected for generations? Before we get into it, what country or city are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. I love seeing where everyone is tuning in from. And if you believe greedy people who cross the line should always face consequences, then smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc, because justice hits different when nature delivers it. Malcolm stared at her, stunned. He knew then this wasn't entitlement. This was war. Malcolm didn't waste time arguing. He pulled out his phone and called the sheriff right there in front of Evelyn and the workers ripping up his land. Minutes later, a patrol truck rolled up. The deputy, Harris Crow, stepped out, looked from Malcolm to Evelyn, and immediately sensed tension. "She's trespassing. This is my land," Malcolm said, pointing to the trees her workers were cutting. "I've owned it my whole life." Evelyn stepped forward before the deputy could reply. She was smiling like someone who thought she had already won. She reached into her folder and pulled out her forged survey map. Thick paper, stamped, sealed, signed. It looked real enough to hang in a courthouse. "This is the updated boundary," she said sweetly. "This section falls under Hartwell Hills Estates. I'm simply developing what I bought." The deputy looked at the map, then at Malcolm. The problem, at first glance, the fake map looked legitimate. Clean lines, official markings, a professional layout. "Sir," Deputy Crow said carefully, "her map looks valid. Unless you have something to prove otherwise, I can't tell her to stop." Malcolm felt his stomach drop. He knew it was fake, but he couldn't prove it right there on the dirt. Old documents, historical deeds, family archives, they weren't in his pocket. He had no choice but to back off and gather evidence. Evelyn smirked as the deputy walked away. "Told you," she said quietly. "You should have taken my offer." Malcolm left furious, but focused. He went into the attic of his old stone lodge and pulled out every document his great-grandfather preserved. Hours turned into a full night of digging until he found it. The original hand-drawn boundary map from the early 1900s. Heavy parchment, ink lines, the real county seal burned into the corner. And it proved exactly what he knew. The land Evelyn claimed was undeniably his. The next morning, he took copies to the sheriff's office. They examined it, but their answer was the same. Sir, this is a civil matter. Only a judge can overturn a recorded survey. He sent a formal complaint to the HOA board. Evelyn ignored it. He filed an injunction. The court date? 5 months away. And Evelyn wasn't waiting. With her money and influence, she pushed construction full speed. Bulldozers moved nonstop. Concrete was poured, frames went up, roofs followed. In just 3 to 4 months, all 100 cabins were completed. Evelyn walked the property daily like a queen inspecting her kingdom. She believed she had beaten him. She had no idea her downfall was already written in the water. By the time Evelyn's 100 cabins were finished, Malcolm knew one thing. Court wouldn't save him. With like 1 month still left before his hearing, Evelyn would use those months to claim established use, sell units, move families in, and twist the law until the judge refused to demolish anything. She thought she was untouchable. She wasn't. Malcolm went back into his family archives, this time studying not the land, but the dam. His great-grandfather had left everything: structural diagrams, handwritten notes, and the original water level tolerances. And buried in those notes was the one thing Evelyn never saw coming. The land she stole sat inside the dam's legal flood easement zone. In simple terms, the dam could safely raise the lake several feet higher, and the exact slope Evelyn built on was the area designed to go underwater during maintenance or emergency overflow. It was her fatal mistake. Malcolm spent days documenting every cabin, elevation levels, GPS readings, photos, drone footage. Then he prepared one certified letter, a 48-hour legal notice informing Evelyn and the Hartwell Hills HOA that the dam would be raised to its natural maximum level for safety inspections. He mailed it. Evelyn refused to sign. She saw his name, scoffed, and told the mail carrier Olivia Crane, "Return to sender. He's bluffing." Refusing to sign didn't protect her. It only created a record that she knowingly ignored a legal warning. For the next 2 days, Evelyn continued celebrating her victory. Workers cleaned windows, staged furniture, hung curtains, swept porches. She toured the site like a billionaire, unveiling her empire. Malcolm said nothing. He waited. When the 48 hours expired, he drove down to the dam with a toolbox and a thermos. He unlocked the steel access door, stepped into the cool concrete corridor, and walked straight to the 2 massive wheel valves controlling the spill gates. He placed both hands on the first wheel, took a breath, turned. Metal groaned through the entire structure. The gate shifted. Water flow slowed. The lake began to rise quiet, steady, unstoppable. By noon, the water kissed the edges of Evelyn's freshly laid turf. Workers noticed. By 1 p.m., it reached the cabin steps. By 2 p.m., the ground turned into mud. As the water kept rising, the construction crew finally panicked and called Evelyn. She drove straight to the development site, right onto the open field where all 100 cabins stood in neat rows along the shoreline. When she stepped out of her SUV, she saw it immediately. The lake had already swallowed the grass and was now climbing over the concrete slabs of the first row of cabins. Workers were yelling, pointing at the water, trying to grab floating materials. The entire site was chaos. Evelyn marched through the mud toward the shoreline, but ice shouting at her workers first. "Why is the water this high? Who let this happen?" Nobody answered her. Then she spotted Malcolm standing on the ridge above the cabins, watching everything from a clear vantage point where the rising waterline was fully visible. She stormed toward him, mud splashing, face twisted in disbelief and anger. She stopped several feet from him and screamed directly at him, "What is going on here? Why is my land flooding?" Malcolm didn't move. He simply raised the certified letter copy in his hand, the same warning she refused to sign, and pointed at the rising water behind her. "I told you this would happen," he said. 48 hours. You ignored it." Evelyn spun around just in time to see water rushing under the cabin decks, swallowing the foundations one by one. Her voice cracked. Her face fell. For the first time, she understood she was losing everything. Evelyn stared at the water creeping past her boots, swallowing the first row of cabins like the ground itself had turned against her. Men shouted behind her, grabbing tools, pulling equipment back, trying to save anything before it floated away. But nothing they did mattered. The lake was rising too fast, too steady, too deliberately. She spun back toward Malcolm. "Stop it," she screamed. "Shut your dam down this instant!" Malcolm didn't flinch. "This is a documented flood easement zone," he said, holding up the certified notice again. "Your cabins are sitting directly inside emergency water territory. I warned you." Evelyn's voice cracked. "You can't do this. I built an entire community here." "You built it on my land," Malcolm said. "Illegally." That was when she pulled out her phone and dialed the sheriff. "Get up here right now," she barked. "He's destroying my property." Deputy Crow arrived 15 minutes later weaving through trucks and floating lumber until he reached Evelyn, who was soaked from the knees down, shaking with rage. "Arrest him," she ordered. "He's flooding my cabins." The deputy walked up to Malcolm, who calmly handed him the entire packet. Copies of the 1900s boundary map, drone photographs, GPS elevation data proving the cabin sat inside the flood easement, and the certified 48-hour warning Evelyn refused to sign. The deputy's face shifted as he read. He turned back to Evelyn. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "he notified you. He has riparian rights to operate his dam, and these cabins are inside the legal flood buffer. This isn't a criminal matter." Evelyn's mouth dropped open. "What? Do you not see what he's doing?" "I see exactly what's happening," the deputy said, "and everything I'm looking at says you were warned. He is within his rights." Evelyn looked like the ground had vanished beneath her. Behind her, the water surged halfway up the cabin walls. Porch lights flickered out. Foundation slabs vanished under brown waves. Entire pallets of new furniture floated like rafts. Her $20 million project was dissolving in front of her eyes. Insurance inspectors came the next day. They took one look at the damage and the forged map and immediately denied all claims: gross negligence, illegal construction, and falsified documents. The investors and financiers she borrowed from, Trent Wallace and Mira Collins, came for blood. Evelyn had taken out massive construction loans, purchased equipment on credit, signed private investor agreements, forged a county survey, built on land she didn't own, ignored a legal flood easement warning. Lawsuits piled up. Her empire collapsed from the inside. Her money was gone. Her expansion project was destroyed. Banks, led by Harold Strickman, froze her accounts. Contractors, including Raphael Boone, put liens on her property. The county threatened criminal charges for falsifying documents. The woman who once boasted she would own the entire valley now sat in her glass office staring at a stack of lawsuits taller than her ambition. And Malcolm? He kept the lake at its high level until every cabin was destroyed beyond repair. Then he lowered the water, cleared the wreckage, restored the land, and walked his property again, untouched, unbroken, still his. Justice, delivered by water. If you believe nobody, no matter how rich, has the right to steal what isn't theirs, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc.